Hello, everyone, and welcome to Back Chat. Welcome to Move with Scoliosis, your channel for everything movement with scoliosis. And today we're going to be talking about Pilates in particular. So this channel has kind of started, I started it around 2017. And in the beginning, it was all about yoga because that's what I was teaching at the time. But I've slowly started to mix and match the practice a little bit more because I've just found that for my own scoliosis, there were other forms of exercise that were really, really useful. So today we are talking about Pilates in particular, and how can we make our Pilates practice work for us, work with our scoliosis rather than against it. And obviously, we don't want to make pain worse. We don't want to make the curvature worse at the end of the day. So feel free, those of you who are here live, to let me know if you've got any specific questions. I've obviously got things prepared that I'm going to be talking about. But if you're already practicing Pilates, maybe there are some exercises that you're not sure about, if you should or shouldn't be doing them. So anything like that, feel free to put it in the chat. And we get going with our topic today. Good. So first of all, why is Pilates such a good exercise? And I already said it in the beginning. I was actually much more of a yoga person for a very, very long time. I still love yoga. But there are a lot of benefits that Pilates brings to the table in particular. So first of all, yoga and Pilates are quite similar in some ways, and I'm sure a lot of you would agree. So it's a low impact type of exercise. We have different positions. A lot of them, the traditional ones, are on the floor. Pilates was actually very heavily inspired by yoga practice. So there is a little bit of an overlap if we're looking at it that way. But then there are also quite a few differences in Pilates as well. So why do we like it for scoliosis? First of all, because it is slow and you've got the time to adapt. You've got the time to look at your posture and then do the exercise if you're doing it in a right way. We like that it's strengthening the body, that it's obviously, it brings a lot of core strengthening, especially to the table. We like that we're working with the breath, very, very important with scoliosis as well. And it's just got a way of working very, very targeted muscles. So if you are going to physical therapy, PT, physiotherapy in the UK, and you've been told, I need to strengthen this muscle, strengthen that muscle, usually in my experience, Pilates has got much more of a targeted solution than yoga, which it's more of a kind of a full body experience and exercise as well, if we're talking about the physical practice of yoga, which is what we are on this channel. Good. So it does, if we're thinking about targeting, what muscles are actually important for scoliosis? All of them, you could argue, obviously, but we are especially interested in the deeper core muscles and the muscles that wrap around the lower spine. So some of you might have been wearing a brace, maybe as a child or as a teenager. And what that brace does is it keeps you in this specific position. And nowadays, the braces are really, really good because they actually don't just keep you in one position, they actually correct you. So they bring you in a better position. And then this is important for children because they still grow. And then obviously, ideally, the spine starts to adjust and grows a little bit straighter at the end of the day. So for us adults, there is less that concern about correction. It's more about maintenance and making sure we're making sure that it doesn't get worse. We fall further into the scoliosis pattern. So for that, we don't want to use a back brace at the end of the day. Sometimes it is kind of necessary, or sometimes you can do it. But definitely there wouldn't be an adult who would be wearing the brace for long periods of time. You want your muscles to do that same job. So this is why we love Pilates, because it's targeting all those deeper layers, those core muscles that are working almost like a brace and keeping you in this really nice and stable position. Good. So Eva is asking, could you give some advice about breathing in Pilates? So I would love to know what is your question about breathing in Pilates? So give me a little bit more information. Is it about the difference, how it's different to yoga, how we can make it work for us? So I need a little bit more information there. Good. And then we've got any suggestions for right thoracic left lumbar scoliosis would be appreciated. So yes, so this is the typical S-curve pattern, or more specific, reverse S-curve pattern. And a lot of people, including myself, have got that specific pattern. So what you always, and there are always lots of differences as well. So I cannot say that there is one Pilates exercise that is going to solve all the problems for right thoracic left lumbar scoliosis. But what I can say is look at what your habits are. What is your pattern? And can you start to come out of this a little bit more when you're doing your exercise? And I will go into this a little bit more. Good. So what the other benefit of Pilates is it's very accessible. So you can find Pilates classes online. You can find them obviously on this channel. There's lots of Pilates channels pretty much in every gym. You have access to Pilates exercises. You don't need a lot of equipment. I personally like to include some equipment. But you don't need lots and lots of stuff to be able to do Pilates. So it's quite an easy one to integrate. It's not super complicated. Sometimes, especially scoliosis specific exercises, if you've got physiotherapy specifically for scoliosis, it can be a little bit complicated, and it can be really, really difficult to do on your own when nobody's watching you. Pilates is a little bit, is much more accessible. So anyone can learn the exercise. And yes, you can build it up slowly. You might not be able to go into the most advanced exercise straight away, but you can definitely slowly start to work your way up. Good. So let's talk about a little bit. I would love to know, actually, those of you who are here in the chat, if you already practice Pilates, and where you are on your journey with scoliosis, obviously, as well. So what does a balanced Pilates practice actually look like? And I mean a balanced Pilates practice that helps us manage our scoliosis, because that's why we're all here. We don't want our pain to get worse. We don't want to start suffering from pain because we do our exercise. And we want to make sure, obviously, that our scoliosis doesn't get worse. So there are a few elements that you want to consciously bring into your routine and into your practice. What do you want a little bit more of? So I like to compare this to kind of a balanced diet. What do you want your vegetable, right? What are the things that you need, that you want a little bit more of into your routine that is going to benefit you in the long term? Good. So Inspire to Wander is saying, I have never tried Pilates. I've done yoga and lots of physical therapy. I'm in my 70s. So I'm with you. As I said in the beginning, I was always more of a yoga girl. So I've always been much more drawn to yoga, but it's the Pilates practice has given me so much, not so much more. It's given me more things in additional to my yoga practice. And that really complements really well. And I can integrate it. I don't have to separate those two. I do sometimes like to separate just to kind of make sure that we know the different approaches, but you can absolutely bring this into your yoga practice as well. You don't have to kind of switch all of the sudden. Just bring a couple of Pilates exercises into your yoga practice. Physical therapy very often looks like Pilates. And being in your 70s, fantastic age to get started with Pilates. Any age is great to get started with Pilates. It's very accessible. So let's come back to our vegetables. So what do we need for a balanced Pilates practice? We need spinal elongation, because remember, our scoliosis is taking twists and turns, and we already heard right thoracic, left lumbar scoliosis. So that's shaped like an S. But remember, you are not two-dimensional, so it's not just right and left. There's also a spiral in there. So you're also rotated. So your rib cage might be rotated to compensate. Your shoulder might be coming forwards. Same thing in the lumbar spine. You might be rotated. Your hips might be rotated. So there's a lot of things going on there that taking these twists and turns. And to come out of that, the single best thing we can do is elongate the spine. And you can try this on yourself. If you are wherever you are sitting right now, see if you can let yourself sink into your scoliosis pattern. And you might even like cross a leg, you might slightly turn, whatever. When you're tired, you will kind of go in towards your scoliosis pattern. When we elongate, we lengthen, crown of the head, we come out of that spiral. Maybe you can even feel this if you've tried this right now. So make sure that your Pilates practice contains a lot of exercise that is giving you that elongation of the spine. So that's what we're looking to do. So that's number one. Even more, well, not more important, but complementing this idea of spinal elongation is you also want to stabilize and strengthen your core, right? So we already talked about this, and this is all the muscles kind of that wrap around that lower spine. You've got obviously the outer layers of your abdominal muscles. You've got your obliques, your QL, but then you've got the inner layers, the transverse abdominal muscles as well. So it's really good idea to really target those deep muscles there. And a lot of Pilates exercises do just that. Probably most of them. So spinal elongation, you want to strengthen your core, obviously. And then you want to, this is when you become a little bit more kind of experienced and you know your pattern. You want to start maybe thinking about practicing things slightly differently on one side to the other. So there are a few kind of small tweaks and adjustments that you can maybe make to start to wake up those weaker muscles. And I don't really like to say we want to strengthen the weak side and we want to stretch or whatever you want to do with the other side. It's not as simple as that at all. You want to come out of the pattern and then strengthen overall. Having said this, you might feel that one side of your body, or maybe parts, so right thoracic, left lumbar is obviously two curvatures, that there might be areas that feel weaker. Now, I'm saying here feel weaker because it doesn't mean that they are weaker. It just means that there's less kind of kinesthetic awareness. There's less things going on in that side. And we want to start to wake those up a little bit more. We want to bring a little bit more awareness to that side and start to strengthen it. But it doesn't always mean in a contracted way. It means very often in a lengthened way. So if you are familiar with the terms concave and convex, please let me know. If you're not, got lots of videos about this on this channel as well. But if we're thinking about the concave side of our curve, which is the kind of collapsed side that feels like there isn't very much going on, we do want to strengthen that side, but in an elongated position. So creating space at the same time, because we don't want it to be collapsed. Good. And then I've written down mobility, which is you cannot make changes if there is no mobility. And we can talk about spinal fusion, obviously, if you are concerned about this. But we do want to make sure we move well and all parts of our spine move really well. Good. So Inspired to Wander is saying my concave side, the right side is painful. And you've already told me you've got a right thoracic, left lumbar. So you are talking, if you're talking about the concave side, you are talking about the concave side of your lumbar curvature, right? So you're saying that's painful. And so for me, it's the other side, by the way, that is painful or can be painful. So it's not always the same for everybody with scoliosis, but I am guessing that there is a lack of space on your right side. And correct me if I'm wrong, it might well be that the rib cage is very close to touching the top of the hips, or maybe it is already touching the hips if it's a severe scoliosis. So that can sometimes cause pain. And so yes, concave side is the right side of the lumbar spine. Good. So you do want to wake up that area. You do want to strengthen it, but remember, very important to strengthen it in a lengthened position. And she's saying, yes, rib cage almost touched the hips. So guess what's important here? It's the elongation part, right? What can you do to lengthen that area and create that space? Good. So mobility, and what we want, it's not just about the spine. Yes, you want to keep your spine mobile, but there's also other parts of you that need to work really well, right? Your shoulders, you want to make sure your shoulders are working well. You want to make sure your hips are moving well as well. So all the major joints in the body, we need to make sure we incorporate some sort of practice to make sure that they are working really well. Because if you don't use it, you lose it. So shall we talk about some mistakes that we can fall into? And I always get the question, obviously, is there anything that I shouldn't be doing? And I'm going to say, as I always say, it depends. So if you are suffering from pain after you've practiced Pilates, then absolutely, there will be things that I would probably say to you, these are not appropriate for you right now. It doesn't mean you can never do them. But right now, while you're really working on that elongation part, you're working on that stability part, there might be some things that we just want to bench for now. And typically these can be kind of, the culprits are usually loaded twists. So meaning that you're working against gravity or you're being pulled down by gravity. Maybe you're adding even weight and you're in a twisted position. So they seem to be the most problematic, especially if I've heard right now from somebody, the rib cage is almost touching the hips. I would be very, very conservative with anything that takes you into a twist, because if you go into a twist, you also compress. Compression is not always bad, but if we are suffering from pain, it's something that we might want to kind of rethink and think about. And in my membership, we've got a Pilates class and we've got a yoga class. In both classes, we have movements that help us to rotate, because it's an important part of your day-to-day life. You need to be able to turn around, say hello to somebody. You need to be able to turn in your car when you're driving. It's safe to be able to turn around. But we're doing it in a way that doesn't compromise and doesn't take us further into our scoliosis pattern. Okay, Shelley's asking, would you consider videos on a reformer for those of us that have access to one? Many options online, but little with proper corrections for scoliosis in mind. So reformer is going to be, if you have your principles kind of sorted out, I would really recommend that you start on a mat and you really get it down before you come to your reformer. And then when you are ready, reformer is a little bit more complicated. But I would imagine if you are going on a reformer, you are already a little bit more experienced. Very, very difficult for me to say, obviously, something kind of as a blanket statement here. But think about the exercises that you are doing with the reformer. So reformer uses a little bit more force. So even more important that you're thinking about your elongation part. Can you stay elongated? Can you keep the concave sides, especially elongated? And are you kind of targeting, are you strengthening the right muscles? What I would be kind of especially trying to pay attention to with a reformer is, if things are hard, how does your body start to compensate? How does it start to correct? So I would highly, highly suggest that you are working with somebody one-to-one, obviously, with a reformer, and you're really working with somebody who can watch you while you're doing those exercises. So it's a little bit more difficult, sorry, Shelley, for me to comment on just kind of here in this format. Good. So common mistakes, let's come back to that. So obviously it's kind of maybe bringing some movements in that aren't appropriate. The other thing I sometimes see is we're trying so hard to achieve something that we're kind of overriding those signals that we get from the body. So pain is a signal. It's a matter of communication of your body with you, and you might not feel pain straight away, or maybe not while you're doing the exercise, because you're trying so hard to do it. So slowing it down, doing less, a little bit less than you can, is absolutely advised with Pilates. And start small. Start really, really small and start to build it up from there. Especially with Pilates, probably even more than with yoga. You really want to take it in small steps to build up your strength. Good. So I have found that Tai Chi ball workout really helps my scoliosis pain. Fantastic. Great. I'm not familiar with it, so I can't comment on it. This is Gail, I think, isn't it? But yeah, I would love some, and I know you might have a social media channel as well. So I would love to see some of those. And great that you have found obviously something that is working for you. Good. So let's think about some other things that can be going wrong. The other thing that can go wrong is that you might be working with somebody who doesn't really understand scoliosis, especially if you've got spinal fusion. Very, very few people really understand what it's like to work with spinal fusion. But even scoliosis, unfortunately, it doesn't feature in a lot of teacher trainings for either yoga or Pilates, unless the teacher has done some additional research. So it's really, really important that your teacher, the one that you're working with, understands the challenges and understands how to help you. And I can give you an example of this. I used to go to alignment-based kind of Iyengar yoga classes, and the teachers at that time didn't really understand scoliosis, and they were trying to kind of put me into positions that just simply didn't work for my body. It's not their fault at all. But because I was so concerned about just trying to make it work and trying to do what everybody else does, I kind of did myself a disservice there. And I ended up in more pain than I should have. And I also had that kind of sense of, I'm not doing it right. I cannot do it. So it is really important that you find somebody who can help you there and who can guide you. And once I did find those teachers, I felt safer, obviously, and I felt like I could actually progress in a safe way as well, whatever that meant at a time. And in yoga, we don't really like to talk that much about progression, but in Pilates we do. So that's one of the kind of differences, I think, in my opinion, that you kind of you look much more at the different levels and are we starting to progress? Are we starting to make things harder? There is a little bit more of a ladder, I would say, in these exercises. Okay, so Angel is saying, I don't know about Tai Chi ball workout, but when I did Tai Chi, my body overcompensated a lot. Yeah, so there is no one size fits all approach, unfortunately. It would be nice if there was. Not everybody likes yoga. Not everybody likes Pilates. Not everybody can deal with yoga, and not everybody can deal with Pilates, and same with Tai Chi. If it's too much, if it's too difficult, if there's too many things going on, it's very, very difficult to keep your alignment. Good. So Priya is asking, what's the solution for sciatica that keeps reoccurring? It's silent for some time and gets activated all of a sudden. Priya, you're in luck because I've just done a whole YouTube series about sciatica. So you might want to look at my most recent videos, not the one from last week, but the two that were from before that, or even three, were about sitting, first of all, sciatica, and some sciatica solutions as well. So have a look at those videos. Okay, so what else? So other mistakes, breathing. We talked about breathing in the beginning, and I didn't hear any more what you wanted to know about breathing in particular. But the breathing is very different in Pilates than it is to yoga. And I'm saying, while I'm saying it, I'm thinking, no, that's nonsense, because we're still breathing, obviously. But there might be a different focus. So we might be doing something more difficult on the exhale. Usually in yoga, we use the inhale to open up and then the exhale, kind of to move into that space. It really depends on the exercise, but typically in Pilates, we use the exhale to activate the core. And that's one of the things that are really, really useful when you've got scoliosis. And especially if your breathing is slightly compromised, it's something that is really, really worth looking into as well. Good. So other things obviously that you want to do is modify your practice as much as you need to. I love the use of equipment, and Gail was already saying about the Tai Chi ball in Pilates. In my practice, in the membership, we work with a resistance band. I keep it simple because I don't want people to think that they need to have this fully equipped gym to be able to do their exercises. But a resistance band, very inexpensive, some dumbbells, light weights, and then I love using a Pilates ball as well. So they are just very, very basic equipment, but you can do so much with those. And we've got so much variety. All the base exercises tend to be similar, but then we've got so many different variations, and that's another reason why I love Pilates so much, because there's so many things that you can do to make it fun, to mix it up, because we don't want to do the same. Well, I don't want to do the same 3 exercises every day. I don't know, do you? I don't think that's fun at all. I think that's really boring. And same as you wouldn't eat the same 3 types of food every single day. You do want some variety and you want to mix it up. Good. Priya is saying, thank you. We'll check your videos. Yes, for sciatica especially, make sure you check out that latest series. Thank you, Stephanie. She's saying, thanks so much for your channel knowledge and help. And yes, there are plenty of exercise videos on this channel. So if you're not sure where to get started, over the last couple of years, I've sprinkled in a little bit more Pilates as well. So you'll find some of those. And then obviously, if you are kind of ready to become really serious about your practice and you're like, I had enough of just kind of doing different things and nothing is working, I want a little bit more guidance, I want you, Christine, to tell me what to do, then make sure that you join us in the Shine membership, where we've got obviously all those live practices with me, first of all, but then you've got a whole library of information, of practices, to address lots of different issues as well. Good. So Pam is asking, what size Pilates ball would you recommend for starting practice? So let me get mine. Just disappearing for a moment. So this is the Pilates ball that I use. And you can see it's just slightly deflated, and that's on purpose. And that's another reason. You can inflate them completely, then they're a little bit more, they've got a little bit more firmness to them, or you can start a little bit softer. So they're really, really nice and versatile, and there's lots of things that you can do with those. So that's what I mean by a Pilates ball. Okay, Stephanie's saying, have you ever done Pilates on a vibration platform? I haven't. No, I would not recommend it for anyone with spinal fusion. And yeah, Stephanie, have you tried it before? Angel is asking, how do you stay organized with customized practice? I get easily overwhelmed when I need to vary my practice. Yes, exactly. So it can be absolutely get overwhelmed, and it's nice to it's good to have a plan obviously. And the easiest thing when you're a member is obviously you turn up to those live classes, or you watch the recording, you do the recording of the live class. So then, every single week you've got a yoga class. Every single week you've got a Pilates class. That's already a good kind of starting point. And I then make sure you're not always doing the same thing. If you follow those, you will get your variety, because I will vary the topics, obviously, what we're focusing on. But if you are obviously working on your own and you're at home by yourself, then it's a good idea to stay organized with customized practice. If you have a kind of a list of things that that these are your vegetables, maybe this might be PT exercises, maybe this might be exercises you got from a one-to-one session with somebody, then I would start to make sure that I assign them to different days. And what we do in the practice transformation in my course is we pick 3 things, and then we practice every single day. And I don't say the same 3 things every single day. I say you pick 3 things out of your whole repertoire of things, and you practice those for the day. And then the next day, you're going to pick 3 different things. So this is a nice way to make sure not to get overwhelmed, Angel. Because yes, you might be thinking like, oh, I need to do my whole program every single day, and you end up with like 90 minutes of exercise. Who's got time for that? Nobody, really. Maybe you do. I don't. So I don't do that, and I make sure that it's bite-sized, and I'd much rather you do something every single day consistently than doing a big practice once a week. Okay. Last question. Should we include Pilates exercise every day with stretching, or altogether separate? Should we include Pilates exercise every day with stretching? So are you making the difference between stretching and Pilates? That's what I understand from this. So what, one day Pilates and then the next day stretching, or altogether separate? That again depends. Yes, that's what you mean. Okay. It's all about balance, right? So if you do a lot of kind of strengthening exercises, I don't like the word stretching, but you want there to be some sort of release or reset or mobilization as well, right? And that can be also part of your Pilates practice. So I wouldn't kind of separate those 2 completely. Strength is preferred over stretching for scoliosis, in my opinion. But you do need to create an overall balance. And again, I don't know anything about you, of course. If you have hypermobility, for example, I would even question, should you be stretching at all? Maybe you don't need stretching. Maybe you just need strengthening. So a little bit difficult to kind of to give like one statement, but think of an overall balance. What do you need a little bit more of? Maybe that's mobility. Maybe that's upper body strength. Maybe that's core strength. What is your focus? And then, yes, you can bring other things in, but to round it to create balance. Good. Thank you so much, everybody, for all your questions here in the chat. Feel free to kind of keep going. Obviously, there is the replay of this video, so you can always leave your comments there as well if you can think of anything else. And it's been lovely to chat with you all. And I'm going to be back on the first Thursday of the next month. This is when our back chat is happening. So thank you so much, everyone. And I'll see you next time.